We got to dive into what's happening in the six. Willy Styles getting the bag. It has impact on your fantasy hockey squad. And on today's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, we're also taking a dive into these Winnipeg Jets. Are they the Cup favorite? Thank you for joining us. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, to your daily source for fantasy hockey news and, of course, daily degenerate gambling breakdowns. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and I am joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Roden. And on this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone, and thank you sincerely from the bottom of our hearts for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Steele, Willy Nylander probably going to be making a few fancy boot purchases over the next couple of weeks as the man has secured the biggest contract extension in Toronto Maple Leafs history. We know the cap is going up. It's going to go up significantly. There were some conversations about perhaps maybe they should have waited. I'm enticed to hear your take on this entire situation because also there's a conversation happening out there right now. Is perhaps William Nylander more valuable to this team than maybe Mitch Marner? Let's have a quick conversation about the Leafs and the meat and potatoes. Winnipeg Jets, are they for real? I got a little angle to cover for you on that one. Tuesday's bets, right over to you, brother, because, yeah, it's the Leafs, and maybe not everyone wants to talk about it. But when you dig into this man's numbers, William Nylander has the same amount of points this season as Connor McDavid. So maybe we need to be paying attention to Willy, who's really rounded out his 200-foot game.
Yeah, and I'm going to touch on that when I go on a little bit of a rant now. But 8 years, $92 million contract for Willy Styles. Unbelievable. Yep. $11.5 million on an annual basis. So it's absolutely incredible what he's been able to accomplish at this point in his career. He's on pace for 120 points, which would be an absolute blowout for a career high. He leads the Maple Leafs with 54 points in 37 games this season. Like you said, he's tied for fifth most points this season with Connor McDavid at 54. And when you look back to 2019, when he held out, was going through the contract negotiations, didn't sign the contract until a couple of hours before the deadline, December 1st, finally signs the contract, which at the time, and probably still now, he thought was undervaluing him. He signs it anyway, and look what he's done over the last 6 years. He's worked hard. He's progressed. He's developed his two-way game from what it was to what it is now, where we see all the skill, paying off. And he set himself up for a huge payday, and he absolutely cashed in. When you look at his game now, every single time he stepped on the ice, he's always doing something that makes your jaw drop and you're just in absolute disbelief and saying wow to yourself. Like he's so creative with the puck. His speed, his quick feet and edge work has been absolutely incredible this season. Again, all the development and the hard work he's putting in is finally paying off. He's not giving up on those plays that we used to see him, which is absolutely vital for this team and for what he does to his value. Sure. He absolutely deserves this contract because he's worked for this contract. It's a great contract for William Nylander, but like you said, even with the salary cap going up next season, this doesn't look like it's going to bode well for the Maple Leafs because they have now 4 players over $10.5 million or $10.9 million. Like it's absolutely insane what it's going to mean for their salary cap.
Well, this is the main takeaway. We can talk all day about fantasy, and obviously William Nylander has catapulted himself into now being, if he goes on this pace, Steele, we're going to have to start talking about Willy as a potential end of the first round fantasy draft pick because triple-digit point players warrant that. Yes, his peripherals aren't there, so we're not talking about the top 6 or 7 spots. But if you're in a league of maybe 12 or 14 GMs, and this guy's putting up 100 points, I don't see why doesn't William Nylander start to become in that conversation along with those types of players. He's earned it. You just talked about it. But The Toronto Maple Leafs have 13.25 in Matthews starting next year, 11.5 for Willy, 10.9 for Mitchie, and 11 for Tavares. Tavares is going to come off the books after next season.
Yeah.
But I really do think that the options here were clear for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Have to work hard at augmenting this core with elite talent or risk losing Willy to another team completely. I think the choice was clear here. Does that mean that the work is not cut out for Treliving? Absolutely not, because clearly supporting this core with the supporting cast of players that it needs, Steele, to go on a run, oh my gosh, they're going to have to get really creative. But let me just ask you this before we go over to the Jets, before we get to bets, very quickly. I looked at the peripherals. I looked at the overall numbers. I still think Mitch Marner is more of an upside fantasy-wise right now today, and more important to the Toronto Maple Leafs' success. I would go with Mitch, but what's your take on that if you're going on a fantasy pick or who you better have on your team?
If this was prior to the season starting, I'd be going Mitch Marner every single day. But from what I've seen from William Nylander this season and what he's been able to accomplish, the 17-game point streak, he was on a 10-game or 13-game point streak just a couple of days ago before it was broken. So he's been absolutely incredible so far this year. I'm going with William Nylander and what he does. He's been incredible on the power play.
Respect.
Again, his development has just been really amazing to watch over the last 6 years from, just talking about him, watching his game and what he does out there. So at this point, I think William Nylander is a better option fantasy wise. And I think he is a better option for the Maple Leafs moving forward, like with the salary cap situation. If you choose Marner or Nylander, again, prior to the season, I would have gone with Mitch Marner. At this point, William Nylander is more valuable to me than Mitch Marner at this point.
Willy had a good playoff last year as well, 10 points in 11 games. And I think what I'll leave it at this is the rumors start to go out there, and clearly they were actual reports and not rumors of him nearing a deal. He goes off for 2 points, a point, and 3 points and plays really good hockey in 3 straight Toronto Maple Leaf wins. And when it comes down to this, Steele, and yeah, you and I talk fantasy, it's about putting dubs and points in that win column, and he's helping the team do just that. So I hope that we can help you do just that with a little bit more of these fantasy takes right after the break. Winnipeg Jets, Steele. We talked about this at the start of the season, and oh boy, even both of us, I think, even with me, couldn't have predicted this. Big time bets coming up for Tuesday. But today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can be placing all those bets. The NFL postseason is here, and there's still lots of time to get in on the action with America's #1 FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 wager. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is super easy to use, live same-game parlays, bets in the new Explore tab, and make a parlay over in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find your popular parlays, and a whole lot more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Go check out Locked On because they've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7 every single day, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Hope you're having an amazing day out there. Make sure you hit the subscribe, the follow button, and leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us every single day throughout the week. The Winnipeg Jets have been absolutely killing it in the NHL right now on a 6-game win streak. I've got probably an opposing position on the Winnipeg Jets right now, but I'm going to throw it over to you first. I want to hear what your takes on the overall success so far this season and some of their fantasy pieces.
Well, actually, the fantasy pieces stand out for sure because even guys like Gabe Vilardi, Alex Iafallo comes in, say what you will about guys like Nick Ehlers, all of them have relevant fantasy value. And, Mark Scheifele even takes some heat. He's still a stud. We were doubting Josh Morrissey for real reasons. He's still going off. I understand that a lot of people weren't buying into them headed into this season, and I respect that was your take. I think they are good. Maybe they're overachieving a little bit. I don't know if they're the best team in the NHL. I'm not ready to ride home with that title. But let me throw this out as food for thought, Steele, because I like to ride with what Vegas is thinking. And right now, Vegas is not putting any respect on this Winnipeg Jets team, not even close, because they are sitting at plus 2,400, Steele. There are 12 teams with lower odds ahead of them, including teams like Vancouver Canucks, New Jersey Devils, Edmonton Oilers, Carolina Hurricanes, and Toronto Maple Leafs. So, do I think this team has what it takes to go on a run? I do. Are they the best team in the NHL, aside from the fact that they have the most points? I don't think so. Hit me with your take on that.
Yeah, I don't think they're the best team in the NHL either, even though they do have the most points or could be tied with the most points. The New York Rangers
currently, as we speak, they do.
Yeah, currently have a game in hand with 2 points less than them. But I agree with you. Well, first of all, what'd you say at plus 2,500?
Yeah, juicy.
At plus 2,500, those are absolutely fantastic odds to jump on.
I should get a 5.
Yeah, I think you should definitely toss a 5 or a 10er on the Winnipeg Jets to win the Stanley Cup, because they do have what it takes in the making, especially once they get Kyle Connor back into the lineup and fully healthy. Like I've said so many times, Connor Hellebuyck for the last, 6-7 years at this point has been one of the best goaltenders in the league.
He's so
especially fantasy wise. He is the best goaltender in fantasy hockey. Like I've said for the last couple of seasons, he's always up there with the statistics and the numbers. So absolutely love Connor Hellebuyck fantasy wise and what he brings to their organization. He's going to, again, we saw it from Adin Hill last year. And again, wasn't a starting goaltender. It got him a starting role before he got injured, a month ago at this point. But Connor Hellebuyck is the Winnipeg Jets, everything what they stand for on the defensive end, because he just again one of the best goaltenders. But I don't want to knock them, while they're I don't want to knock them down while they're up right now. The 6-game win streak hasn't been the toughest stretch of games for them.
Fair.
2 wins against the Minnesota Wild, 4-2, 3-2, which they were riddled with injuries. A 4-2 win against, I think we can all agree, a currently above average Lightning squad. They haven't been great either this season. And then a 2-1, 3-1 win against the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks. So it hasn't been the toughest, the 6-game win streak, even though it's a 6-game win streak, it's not the toughest opponents right now.
Yeah.
But like we said, some of these fantasy pieces, Hellebuyck, the best goaltender, Scheifele could have a career year in points, even though some of the other peripheral stats are down. Same goes for Ehlers with points. Now he's fully healthy after, which seems like the last 5 years he hasn't been. Another guy that's been injured. And then I think we both said this. Morrissey would slightly regress a little bit, which he has with expected points. I think he's on pace for like 65 or 66, which is less than what he had last season. And then same hits and blocks are all down as well. So you mentioned Vilardi. I think, Vilardi at 50%, Perfetti at 29%, and Neil Pionk at 55%. Those are all great guys from the Winnipeg Jets that are lower down on the value scale, but still bring a ton of value to your fantasy lineup.
That's how I actually look at this Jets team when I see them rolling 3 lines, and I think that's been a big part of their success. And before I get off on a tangent, when I look into their numbers, actually, Steele, it's impressive where they are, and it has to be given credit to 26-3 record for Connor Hellebuyck, a .921 save percentage, and a 2.27 goals against average. That's number 1. And number 2, when I look at their special teams, they are very, very average, if not below league average. Looking at the power play, they sit 23rd best in the NHL, and the penalty kill is just slightly better. So the fact that they're getting it done at 5-on-5 tells me that they can be even better. Can they do that, though? You know me on special teams in the postseason, Steele. They are not going to win games if they can't score with the man advantage in the postseason and conversely keep the puck out of their net when they're not on the man advantage. Anyway, I'll leave it at this. The Winnipeg Jets are going to make the playoffs. A lot of people came into the year saying that they're not. I don't know if they're going to be the best team in the NHL. I would lean towards they are not, but they're going to get into the playoffs. And if Connor Hellebuyck doesn't burn out like he did last season because he saw so much rubber and played so many games, I think you'll agree with me on this. Connor Hellebuyck is more than good enough to take a team on a run to the Stanley Cup. And if this team is feeling it and still rolling 3 lines, why not them?
More than good enough to take a team to the Stanley Cup, especially this team that's absolutely firing on all cylinders. It's actually quite funny, looking back to our preseason predictions, what I thought of the Winnipeg Jets this year is what you
Right.
thought of the Florida Panthers this year.
True.
So
True.
I had the Winnipeg Jets missing the
Yeah.
playoffs, but now they're in first. You had them making it. Florida Panthers are top 3 in the Atlantic. You had them
Yeah.
missing, but both those teams are proving us both wrong in a way
Yes.
right now. But yeah, the Winnipeg Jets at the top of the NHL leaderboard right now in the standings, 56 points on the season. New York Rangers are right on their tails, though. They've been absolutely dominating the Metropolitan Division right now. Big time bets. It's where it's at, where we're going to next, where the money is made. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when buying your tickets to your next big event. That's why Flip and I always use Game Time app, and you should too. Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with last-minute killer deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and the best price guaranteed. Easy to find and buy your tickets for every kind of event in your area. You can also see the views from your seat before you purchase. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you the complete peace of mind with your purchase. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on all your tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute tickets. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe button, the follow button, and leave a 5-star review. We really do appreciate it. Kicking off the 24 season. We're almost coming up on 2 years here, Flip.
Sure.
Doing this podcast, been absolute blast. What's the actual date of the anniversary since we started hosting? Was it February or was it end of January? I think it was like January 28th.
I think we're like right at the end of January. It's been honestly, Steele, it's been a good run. The fact that it's only been 2 years, we have the love, we have the support of so many people out there. I really do feel like we're just getting started. Tell us what you guys want to hear, what you want to see. Steele and I are always looking at new segments, new ways to bring the fantasy takes to you guys. So hit us in the comments, DMs, always open for y'all. Steele, I want to get this pocketbook wide open and stuffed with cash. So hit me with some of these bets you got because I'm ready for a big, big week.
Big week indeed. I'm hoping, again, we're recording early, but I'm hoping Monday's bets paid off for me in a big way with the 4 games on the schedule. Big board for Tuesday night. I'm looking at 2 games in particular. First one, the Seattle Kraken taking on the Buffalo Sabres. Kraken on the money line, plus 100 right now. I can't believe they're giving plus 100 to me. I'm going to take that every day. Kraken on a 6-game win streak currently. Sabres have been absolute dog water this entire season. No faith in the goaltending. They've only this is surprising to me, but the Kraken and Sabres have only played 4 games ever. I know they've only been in the league for 3 years, but that's a little surprising for me. But only 4 games. Kraken have won all 4 games. So Kraken money line plus 100 is the first pick. Second pick, Kraken Sabres over 6.5 at plus 100 again. 3 out of the 4 games that they've played have gone over 6.5. The other one was at 6 goals. So I like the over in this. And I understand Joey Decord has been absolutely sensational, but the Sabres goaltenders have not been. I really like Devin Levi before the season started. Not sure about this point of the season. And same goes for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as well. So I don't have faith in the Sabres goaltending. I do have faith in Decord, but I still believe it's going to go over 6.5 in this matchup. The last 6 games for both these teams have been, quite frankly, under the number, I believe. And mostly every single game of those 6 for each team. I'm still taking the over in this one. Just feel it happening as well, plus 100. So those are my first 2 picks.
Absolutely love it, Steele. And sometimes odds, you're talking about the under, factoring in Joey Decord. I like this angle for you. You're taking the over, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it because at the end of the day, too, odds don't always reflect everything, and sometimes you just have to take a look at what's been happening on the ice. And clearly, the Sabres have been one of those squads that just haven't lived up to expectations overall. So that's number one. Number two, let me hit you with my first pick. Edmonton on the road into Chicago. We were talking about how bad Chicago was, and then they go out and they beat the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
Bad
take this
timing.
one. Yeah, bad timing, but the Edmonton Oilers have won 15 of 18 games. The Edmonton Oilers are 7-0 in their last 7 games. They're 5-0 in their last 5 on the road, and they have won 4 of 5 against Chicago. Oh, wait. 10-0 in their last 10 games against the Western Conference. I'm not going to be shy about taking the Oilers on the puck line here. Minus 152. I don't care about what they did to Calgary. Edmonton is a whole different beast right now, and Connor McDavid is doing special Connor McDavid things and absolutely dominating the pace of play. Give me the Oilers on the puck line. And very quickly, before I turn it back over to you, because I know you like that McDavid angle, San Jose Sharks on the road. Here we go with the voice again, Steele. Man, I can't shake this. San Jose Sharks. Okay, I got to lay off all the darts. San Jose Sharks on the road into Toronto. Of course, you might be thinking I'm going to say Toronto money line, Toronto puck line. I don't know if you watched the start of the Saturday game. Poppy should have had at least 2 goals. He hit a post.
That darn crossbar.
He had a post, a crossbar, 2 good chances. Give me Austin Matthews. Anytime goal. I'm really feeling this one because also, Steele, very quickly, you know me in the head-to-heads because that's why I was all over it on Saturday. In his career against San Jose, 12 career regular season games, 11 career regular season goals for Poppy. That's my second pick of the night.
Absolutely love it. I'm going to have to take those for Tuesday as well. Make it into another 3-game parlay with all 3 of your picks. My last pick, I'm going to go back to that Edmonton Oilers Connor McDavid angle you were talking about because that's where I'm finishing off here. McDavid over 2.5 points in this matchup. I want to take a look at the odds before they go up just to make sure that it's worth doing it. But I'm feeling the McDavid over 2.5 points against the Chicago Blackhawks. Like you said, they've won 15 out of the last 18. They're currently on a 7-game winning streak. Vegas and LA right now, they're struggling in their last 10 games, 4-4-2 for LA and 3-7-0 for Vegas. They're falling. The Edmonton Oilers are inching closer up the standings in their division right now. Connor Bedard is out for the Chicago Blackhawks with the fractured jaw, like everyone knows about now at this point. Right now, Edmonton smells blood in the water. And like I said, they're inching closer to a top 3 spot in their Pacific division. I think McDavid's going to go absolutely ballistic in this game. Again, we said Blackhawks have no one. They go out and win 4-3 against the Flames. It's the Flames. This is not the Flames. It's the Oilers now. They got McDavid and Draisaitl. Zach Hyman's been absolutely crushing it offensively. Skinner's been getting his confidence. His game is right on point right now. Absolutely love the Oilers and what they're doing. McDavid over 2.5 points. But the lock of the night is the Kraken on the money line.
Thank you very much. And finally, my lock of the night at home against a team that, look, the Anaheim Ducks had a good start to the season, but they still have a lot of problems. And they are not playing good hockey right now. 5 straight losses and in ugly fashion, Steele. 2-0 against Arizona. 7-2 against Edmonton. Then they lose 2 tight games, 3 actually, to Toronto, Winnipeg, and Detroit. 3 games they all were in. So to lose those ways, I just don't see it right now. And then you take a look at the Nashville Predators playing pretty well. 3-1 over their last 4 games. And the Ducks are bad on the road, 2-7 in their last 9. And they only have 1 win in their last 7 against Nashville. Predators, money line, lock of the night, minus 200. No odd there. Add it into your favorite parlay. Thank me later. Nashville's going to bang out in a big way.
Absolutely love all 3 of your picks. It's definitely going into a separate 3-game parlay alongside my 3 picks. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. And once again, go to Locked On. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. They're here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports today. Make sure you subscribe to the first ever 24/7 streaming channel. And thank you again so much for tuning in for today's podcast and episode with Flip and I. Have a great day out there. Good luck with all your bets, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.